right.
That's good. I want to call the meeting of the Ponca City Board of Education to order. The first thing on the agenda is flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adam?
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this gathering tonight. We pray that you will help us navigate the uncertainties and that you help lead us by faith. May the steps we take tonight continue to move us through the dark into the light. We pray for the faith to continue making decisions for the betterment of the children in our community, and may our faith be resolved, and may we continue to remain unified through our actions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Next is roll call.
Mr. Newsom?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mrs. Rowland? Present. Mrs. Truitt?
Present.
Mrs. Emerson? Here.
Okay, presentations and recognitions. This is the presentation of the Employee of the Month and the Friend of Education Awards. First of all, it's a certified Employee of the Month, and that is Ashley Magnus.
That's good, right?
That is bonus.
I know if I slide that, it's going to be really loud. Test, test. Hey, it works. There you go.
It's on.
That's why you need a good operations session.
Woodlands Elementary is proud that Ashley Magnus is being recognized as the Certified Employee of the Month for February 2023. Mrs. Magnus came to Woodlands about 12 years ago, teaching kindergarten and second grade for several years before moving to third grade last year. Ashley has always been a team player, but she has really stepped it up in the last couple of years. She serves on the building leadership team, the Safe and Healthy Schools Committee, and serves as the coordinator for the annual Woodlands Track Meet. She is one of our gifted and talented teachers, helping our gifted students reach their highest potential. She is the Woodlands AR coordinator this year and has brought a fresh energy and excitement to reading. In addition, she is an excellent classroom teacher with high expectations for her students, while at the same time providing the tools for them to get there. It is an honor to work with Mrs. Magnus. We are blessed that she is on the Woodlands team. Congratulations on being this month's Certified Employee of the Month for Ponca City Public Schools.
Next is the Support Employee of the Month, and that is Dan Gehring.
Oh, are you reading it, Mr. Ned?
I'll do it.
I'm just here.
I'm Shane Dent, high school principal, and Mr. Dooley, where are you going? And this is Mr. Dooley, our tech director. Dan is in our IT department, and so that's why we've got two. We get to share this privilege of speaking about Dan. IT is a tough spot in any field, especially in school, because they're always working and nobody's ever happy with the work that you're doing. We want you to be faster, 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 right? We want those Chromebooks yesterday. But Dan's coworkers really wanted to brag on him. They said he's a team player, he's very dependable. They said he's been in the district for, 10 years about? Almost 12 years. And so they really wanted to brag on the fact that in their world, he is the guy they can depend on. He is the one that gets things done, always willing to lend a hand. And they wanted me to tease you about blood, sweat, and tears, especially blood with a head and truck thing, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Congrats, Dan. Thank you so much.
Well, and we lovingly call Dan the Man because he takes care of business. So Dan the Man Gehring.
Tony Coleman.
Tony Coleman. Tony Coleman has a heart for helping kids and the desire to bless them at Christmas time. He has hosted a trail ride benefit the last 2 years to provide toys, gifts, and a full Christmas meal, including ham, turkey, vegetables, stuffing, potatoes, cranberries, rolls, and pie for families in our community. Last year, the benefit ride provided for 19 families and 46 kids, and Tony's goal was to exceed those numbers this year. They met that goal by providing for 24 families, including 55 kids from our area, the majority of which are Ponca City Wildcats. Community partnerships with those such as Tony help to fulfill needs for our students and their families that might otherwise go unmet. We appreciate Tony's continued support and dedication as a friend of education.
Now, if Ashley, Dan, and Tony would meet Christy out in the hall, she'll take your picture for the paper.
And for our website and
Yeah,
Facebook.
for our website.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much. I know, that was touching.
What?
That was touching.
Yes, it was. No, half the people are gone.
It was really cool. What a big support.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes.
Thank
there's a
you
lot
for
of people.
coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome to come back in and stay.
No.
I don't know.
Mr. Dent, where are you going? Yeah, right.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comments, and since we don't have any, we're going to just skip that part. Next is superintendent's report with potential board discussions.
Okay, just a quick legislative update on the first session of the 59th legislature. It did begin on Monday, February the 6th, which was a week ago today. Some important legislative dates to know. February 6th was the first day of session. March 2nd is the day that bills must be through committees. And then March 23rd, bills must be through the first House of Origin. April 13th, bills must be through committees of opposite house. April 27th, bills must be heard in opposite house. And May 26th is the last day of session. And the COSA bill tracking list for common education bills happens to be over 400 bills long. And this is early in the session, so a lot of these will be weeded out and there will be a lot of changes. And Governor Stitt actually gave his State of the State address on 2/06 at noon, and he outlined 3 major points for his legislative agenda. And one of his main points is focusing on driving excellence in education, with parent choice of schools being his top priority, making Oklahoma the most business-friendly state in the nation, and protecting Oklahomans and promoting freedoms during this session. And also in his State of the State address, he restated his executive budget, and I'm just going to give you what he talked about regarding common education. $130 million for education savings accounts, which we call them vouchers as well, for private schools. And there's some language out there that would include homeschools too. If you'll remember, Senate Bill 1647 started with private schools and homeschools, and then homeschools were stricken later on. But new language does include homeschools. A $50 million budget increase for performance-based pay raises for teacher, commonly known as merit pay. And there are 42,000 teachers in the state of Oklahoma, and I think the initial proposal was for $10,000 per teacher if they scored highly effective. So that would mean only about 5,000 teachers would get that $10,000 out of 42,000. $100 million for an innovative school fund to help start more schools like the Aviation Academy in Norman. $100 million for a reading initiative fund, including funding for training teachers in the science of reading, which is already required through RSA currently. So we're anxious to hear a little bit more about this. And then $500,000 for concurrent enrollment, so high schoolers can easily earn college credits. And 4 This year, we have the most students in concurrent enrollment. We have 86 students participating this semester in concurrent enrollment. So we would like to expand that any way possible. It's free tuition. We still have books and fees, and we're going to work with universities on maybe some scholarships for those to prevent barriers for all students to be able to do concurrent enrollment. So some legislative hot topics for educational leaders this session are education savings account, which are private school vouchers or homeschool vouchers, now that we see the language. For educators, teacher recruitment and retention is a big thing for us. You've seen the board personnel report as of yesterday, February 12th, we have 15 confirmed certified resignations for the end of the school year, and we have about 17 on that list that are valid rumors that they have either told me, Jennifer, or their principal that they are leaving. So that puts us at 32, and we're in February. One thing that you need to know, teachers on a continuing contract have within 15 days of the first Monday in June to resign and us release their certificate. Now, if they go to a different state or a different profession, they do not need that Oklahoma certificate. And that date is June the 20th this year. Obviously, we would like to improve student outcomes through innovative programs, so that's a big thing for school leaders. And we are all dealing with inflationary costs, fuel, food, you name it, with our projects, materials. So those are going to be hot topics for us. And I want to talk just a little bit about why public school advocates are opponents of any kind of voucher. And there is a pot of money at the State Department of Education that goes toward Common Ed. And any money that we pull out of that pot of money for Common Ed, there has not been a recruitment process for recouping those funds. So I do believe vouchers are coming, and we're hearing that there can be some kind of mechanism to recoup those funds. And it's particularly a problem for our rural schools in counties where there are no private schools. So they're going to be losing money from the state aid formula, as with all schools that don't have a private school in their county or in their nearby vicinity. I don't think that's going to be a problem for Ponca City. We do have 2 private schools. Actually, we have 3 with Central Baptist as well. And those kids eventually become wildcats. And I just don't know that that's going to be a big issue for us. Another reason why public school advocates are opponents of vouchers is public dollars require accountability, and there are very few regulations for private schools and homeschools. That's how you spend your money, state testing, report cards, administrative costs, and public school educators would certainly like to have the same accountability requirements if public funds have to be accounted for. Only public schools choose all children, and vouchers are really not parents' choice, but schools' choice, particularly private schools. You know, they're going to cap their class size at 14, 15 students, and we do not do that. We choose all kids. If a student is a behavior issue or has special needs and they can't serve, they can be denied. So vouchers are really a school's choice, not a parent's choice. Public school choice abounds. In fact, Oklahoma has more choice, school choice, than any other state in our region. If you'll remember the new transfer law in January of last year, where schools could transfer to any school providing capacity, discipline, attendance requirements are met. And I shared our data with you all. We had, I think, 82 more kids coming in than we had going out. So kids can go to whatever school they want to. There are all kinds of charter schools in the state. There are virtual charter schools. There are career tech opportunities, concurrent enrollment opportunities, and most brick and mortar schools have their own virtual academy since COVID, since the pandemic. So we have our own Ponca City Virtual Academy. Taxes are intended to be pulled together to provide shared public services, public education, public safety, and infrastructure. And our Oklahoma Constitution states that the legislature shall establish and maintain a system of free public schools wherein all the children of the state may be educated. I do believe that's going to be a big topic at the Capitol. And we're hearing of some different mechanisms for recruitment, and I still have not heard anything about accountability. So we will see throughout the session, and we'll keep you informed. So let's talk about what happened in the Senate Education Committee last week. Senate Bill 16 requires the State Board of Education to establish a 2-year pilot program to provide grants to public school districts to provide child care for children of school district employees. If you remember, we do have child care. It's after school. We call it cat care, but we do not have anything in the day through daytime for our staff members, employees, and it would likely require DHS certification, and so we'll learn more about that. We'll see where this bill travels.
But didn't we, 10 years ago, offer that or discuss it?
We did.
And there was no interest in it?
I was
which
in
surprised us from the
HR at the
teacher.
time. We didn't have a lot of teachers that would commit. They wanted to know who the teachers were going to be, where they would be, what the cost was, and so before we could venture into it, we really needed a count, and we didn't have a lot of.
There was just like a handful.
Handful.
Is all we had of,
Handful.
of teachers that had young ones that were interested.
You are right,
Which
Mr.
surprised
Riley.
us.
Also, Senate Bill 27 was introduced. It requires every school district to undergo a risk and vulnerability assessment conducted by the Oklahoma School Security Institute by July 1 of 2026. It will require the assessment and include recommendations to increase security on school district property. So I would imagine that that is one that we would all like to see coming. Senate Bill 467 creates the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact Act. It states the act's purpose is to facilitate the mobility of teachers through a collective regulatory framework amongst member states to expedite and enhance the ability of teachers to move across state lines. Now, Jennifer, we didn't get to talk about this one today. Oklahoma has reciprocity with all 50 states, so I am not sure the reasoning for this bill. It's real easy to come into Oklahoma, so we'll see how far that one goes. What is on the agenda this week for the House Education Committee is House Bill 2162. Representative Lowe introduced this one, increase minimum salary schedule for teachers from 25 steps to 35 steps. We're already there, so we're already done. So we increased that this year. Then House Bill 2358 would exempt school districts from class size penalty if we exceeded in kindergarten and first grade. You know, we have those limits, 20 plus 9 over. If we have a TA in the classroom, if we had a mandatory transfer of children in foster care and military dependents. And we already do that too. So that will not affect us. House Bill 2675 is Representative Baker out of Yukon would create a task force to study and make recommendations to modernize high school graduation requirements. And Senator Pugh discussed that with us this summer. He would like to see 4 required math credits and 4 required science credits, which would mean we would need more math and science teachers. So we'll watch that as we go. We did get, and I pulled this up on my phone because it was too late to change it. On the Senate Education Committee tomorrow at 10 a.m., there is Senate Bill 358, which would expand the Lindsay Nicole Henry Scholarship Program. And if you remember, that was developed several years ago to support our kids on an IEP or with special needs who go to a private school. And what the expansion would do, it would authorize vouchers for children in permanent custody of Oklahoma or a recognized Indian tribe to receive a voucher for the Lindsay Nicole Henry Scholarship, even if they're not on an IEP. It would also eliminate a requirement that eligible students on an IEP must have attended a public school the prior school year. So before they can get the voucher for the Lindsay Nicole Henry Scholarship, they now have to have been enrolled in a public school. the year before. So we will continue to watch that. This is the bill that is not yet on the agenda for Senate Education Committee, and it's Senate Bill 822. It's one that we'll be watching quite a lot. It creates the Oklahoma Education Freedom Act and the Oklahoma Education Freedom Account Program to be administered by the Office of the State Treasurer to provide vouchers for private school and homeschool experiences. So this is very similar to Senate Bill 1647, which Senator Treat introduced last year, and it failed by a narrow margin in the Senate last session. So I know that our legislators are listening to public school people. We need a recouping mechanism for the formula, and we want accountability, so, for public funds. So, for advocacy, okay, COSA does legislative briefings every Wednesday. And through the pandemic, for 2 years, they were done via Zoom. Then last year, they were via Zoom or in person. They are only doing those in person this year, so that administrators will go lobby at the Capitol every Wednesday. And they send out a Google Doc and ask that schools sign up for every week. And we're signed up for all but 1 week to be at the Capitol. Senate Education Committees are at 9 a.m. on Tuesdays, and the House Common Education meetings are at 10:30, and it's my understanding that those are going to be live streamed, so we can take a look at those as well. We do have communication with our local legislators and Senator Coleman and Representative Luttrell. Neither are on the Senate or House Education Committee. We also have open lines of communication with Representative Ty Burns. He was a former PCPS teacher over at East Middle School, and we have open lines of communication with Representative John Pfeiffer, who has just a portion of Ponca City in his district. And then our OEA ACT Association leave, so members of our own ACT will utilize leave to advocate at the Capitol, and I believe Zach and Amy are going tomorrow.
Yes, and then working on planning 2 more days in March and April.
Okay. All right, and then we will do weekly legislative updates to staff in the weekly email, and anytime we get a call to action, we will put out a call to action to our staff as well, so they can call our elected officials. So some things that we want to do to stay engaged locally is be informed. We want to know the platform. We want to know the proposed bills, so we watch those constantly. We want to stay engaged, contact our legislators, attend political forums. I believe next Friday is Ponca Politics with our local legislators, so that would be a great thing for anybody in our listening audience to attend, and our board members, and I will put that in my memo as well that I send to you. And one thing that we keep hearing from COSA is tell your own story. Tell how bills can affect Ponca City Public Schools. Don't talk about how it's going to affect the state as a whole, or what innovative programs that you're doing, or what hardships you are facing. Be consistent and persistent. Your voice matters. You know, if you don't vote, you really can't complain, and we really want everybody out voting and talking to our legislators. And one thing that we always say is be polite. We have a great relationship with our legislators. They hear negative far more than the positive. Now, we might not like what they tell us, but we do have a very collaborative relationship with all of our legislators that we speak to. So, any questions? Of course, the session has just started, so it's been pretty minimal.
Is there still a Red for Ed type of a Tuesday, everybody wears red thing going on?
There'll be a day.
I know some teacher advocates will still do Red for Ed on Tuesdays usually. Sometimes that varies. I know a group is organizing February 20th, I believe, as Public School Advocacy Day, because I think a lot of schools have that day off for conferences, and so trying to take advantage of that day. But that's more of an informal, the Red for Ed's more of an informal thing. It's not like a...
I just didn't know if it was still trending or whatever in that way. I didn't.
And Zach will get that information out to us. Typically, it's OEA led. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, shall we?
Thank you, Shelley.
Okay, the next on the agenda is the consent agenda. A motion required for the approval of the consent agenda as printed or as amended. Board members may, however, call for a separate vote on any or all items listed on the consent agenda. And these are the agenda with commentary, minutes from the January 10th special board meeting, contracts, agreements under $10,000, surplus resolution, and out-of-state travel request. So do I have a motion?
Yes, you have a motion on 5.
Do I have a second?
Before we vote, can I just ask a quick question on
Sure.
that? On the Legacy Studio one, has that always been done? It's the one where it serves as a portrait photographer?
No, that is
sounds like something
a new vendor. Our previous vendor, yes, Life Touch, did not pay the commission last year, and that goes to schools' activity funds, and it really hurt quite a bit. So Adam actually met with several different companies, and Legacy had the best offer.
Oh, cool.
I do have a question, Judy.
Okay.
Had them on the surplus resolution. It looked to me like we're dumping a bunch of books. Is that particular
That's-
schools that, the
That's,
libraries?
well,
or-
when we get new textbooks.
I mean, we're talking 200 or 300, 400.
Oh, yeah, it's every year, whenever we have a new textbook adoption. Oftentimes, we put those on a surplus resolution and send them home with kids. We want our kids reading those books and working out of those books. But they do have to be on a resolution.
Okay, that brings up then, it's kind of a distant question, but do we have a committee that checks the books to make sure that they're not pornographic or whatever?
We act-
How do we do that?
We'll let Delana talk about that, because we do.
We have a textbook committee, like, for example, with the adoption this year is secondary English language arts, so 6 through 12. We have a textbook committee, but they only select off of the Oklahoma State approved textbook list.
Who all's on that committee?
We have teachers from each side, the instructional coaches from each side, and 1 or 2 are also parents.
1 or 2 or what?
Also
Parents.
Okay.
You want to talk to him about the library media?
With the library media, the librarians oversee that, and they work with their administrators and teachers. There's a committee and a process if we have any public community member, parent, if anyone wants to question a book in our library. We have like an 8 or 9 step process to go through that. And it starts with the building principal, goes with a committee of teachers and the librarian to evaluate that material for its appropriateness. And then it has about 5 levels of due process beyond that, you all being the final say.
So basically, we're pretty much covered with all the
Absolutely.
stuff going on.
And,
Is that
and
a
you know,
nice way
we
of saying it?
review books all the time out of the library if there's any question, so.
Do you books, if they don't take them home and do that, what, instead of taking them to the landfill?
Kids take them home.
Yeah, they
The
really
little
do.
kids take them
Normally they'll
home, yes.
Go that way, okay.
They love to
I
take them
remember,
home
yeah.
to play school.
They play school.
Okay, that's
They're
fine.
good.
I just
Future
wanted-
teachers.
They're gonna say I don't want to send them to the landfill, we just will take them to the
Yeah,
recycle
no,
center.
and you know, at the secondary level, a lot of our textbooks are on their Chromebooks anyway, so we don't have a
Okay.
lot. These are mostly elementary, and they love to play
Yeah,
school.
okay.
Yeah. Probably one of the reasons why I am one.
Any other questions?
No.
Need a second?
Okay, call for the vote.
No, you need a second.
Oh,
I'll
we
second
did.
that. I'll
Okay.
second that.
Anna
Consent
seconded
agenda.
it.
Okay. Mrs. Troop,
Aye.
Mr. Newsom,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed.
Aye.
Okay, the next one, consider and take action on the following district financial reports. And I will let Dawn and
Yeah, we had a
Robin
good
talk
meeting.
about this.
Robin was kind of quiet, so we was able to,
There,
But,
it was fast.
no,
I
we don't have
think-
any more questions. We've already
yeah, I've got
answered
a
all of
question,
them.
but I think on item A, we still have the hot spots in there, and I think it was supposed to be removed.
I think there was
I'll
some.
close it. I'll close that one, yeah.
The last I heard was that they were going to remove the hot spots, the $34,000 worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll close that.
We are closing some down. We talked about that. We're down to 140 something, Ryan, on our hotspots. We're down to like 145 on our hotspots. Still open?
We
Somewhere in
started
there.
with 250, 300, something
Oh,
like that,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
I'll close that. Or tonight.
Okay. Yeah, that's,
On that, was that on the A that you're going
I
to take?
think that's when it was on general fund.
It's general fund.
Okay. Okay,
But I'll make a motion to approve it.
okay. And a second?
Second.
Okay. Call for the vote?
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland? Aye. Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay. Number 2, board to consider and take action on a resolution determining the maturities of and setting a date, time, and place for the sale of the $17,400,000 general obligation building bonds of the school district.
Yes, and it is time to sell our GO building bonds, 17.4 million. Ron Fisher sets the date for that. We have spring break that falls in there. There's supposed to be a rate increase with the feds, and then Brenda and I have to participate in a S&P rating, so he wanted to choose a couple of weeks after spring break.
Okay. So the time, it will be on March 28th, 2023 at 12 noon.
Correct.
Okay. All right, do I have a vote for that? Or questions for that?
I have motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland? Aye. Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, number 3, consider and approve an agreement on bond counsel services with Floyd and Driver, PLLC, attorneys at law.
Okay, because this bond sale is more than $10 million, we have to have bond counsel, and because we're going for an S&P rating, out-of-state bidders can bid on these bonds, so we do have to have counsel. The price is $57.50, but it's going to come out of our previous bond fund, because there's always going to be fees associated with our bonds, so it's nothing new money. It will come out from our bond fund 33, Brenda?
Yes.
Okay, and these are taxable bonds, so they're not subject to arbitrage. And when we did the S&P rating, I can't remember when that was, but it was last year, that was the best rate that we could get rating if we had taxable bonds. So that money is not subject to arbitrage, which means we would pay arbitrage if we took over 3 years to spend it. Shouldn't be a problem, because we've got 11 projects this summer.
Motion approved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Did you get that and a second?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mr. Newsom?
Aye. I just want to say on that, the one before that meeting, I will be out of town that week,
Right.
so
Okay.
make sure everybody.
But the other
three.
4 are going to be here, so I got confirmation when I called everyone, 4
I'll be
confirmed,
gone
we need a
that week.
quorum of 3.
Okay. Number 4, consideration and take action on the Ponca City School District calendar for the 2023-2024 school year.
Okay, this is a school calendar that we provided to you last month, and there's a copy at your seat here. The one thing that we changed were the dates of our evening conferences in October. We changed those to October 12th and October 24th. And the reason being is for a football game. I think we have games.
It was more that we'd have the Monday off, or we'd have the way we have it set up with compensatory day, and coming back on a Tuesday and doing conferences that same night is rough on teachers, just because they're trying to figure out with your conferences that night what all needs to happen with that. So I think that's why we.
Well, and our negotiated agreement says the compensatory day has to fall within the week of the conference days. So if you'll notice, the 13th is parent-teacher conference, so conferences are on the 12th, that'll fall within that week. And then the 16th is now fall break, so we had those two just switched to meet the negotiated agreement.
What about the 24th
Of August?
of October?
Oh.
There was no requirements for it? You just happened to pick it?
Yes, we just, it's hard on teachers to do a Thursday, Tuesday, so just moved it a week. No reasoning.
Okay,
It
I'll make a mo-
cannot be within the same week.
I'll make a motion for the
Second.
calendar.
Second. Did Don second it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, number 5, consideration and take action on declaring March 2nd, 2023 as Read Across America Day in the Ponca City Public Schools.
Okay, most schools in America have Read Across America Day, and it's usually held on a day that's closest to Dr. Seuss's birthday, and it happens to be on March 2nd, and it's not a weekend, it's on a Thursday. So we are going to propose that you consider Read Across America Day on March the 2nd, and we know that you all stand firmly committed to promoting reading for our students' future academic success and preparation for jobs in America.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Okay,
That was Rowland.
yeah. So she seconded it. Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay, number 6, consideration and take action on naming Erica Johnson, financial intern for PCPS, as the deputy minutes clerk and assistant treasurer.
I don't know.
Boy,
So
we
if,
got to be gutsy to do
Can we
this, but I'll
table
do
this?
it. No.
if Christy or Brenda are not here, Erica would step in as the minutes clerk in executive session.
Well, I bet
or-
they won't be here very much.
We're breaking her in right.
I'll go ahead and make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Okay, did you hear Anna? Okay, call for the vote.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Yeah.
Begrudgingly,
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
begrudgingly, aye.
Okay. I'm just gonna have you sit by her if that happens.
Oh, dear.
They like to give the new people
Yes,
fits.
they do. Number
I'm still the
7,
new one.
The rite of
So it's
passage.
you.
consideration, take action on the following board policies.
This is just changing names in the complaints for alleging discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. So we're going to change the name from Curtis to Jennifer Dye, and as you know, our board policy is hundreds and hundreds of pages, so sometimes we find things that need clarifying, and we did. I do need to make an amendment from the commentary. This is policy 3.2-3.0. Jennifer is Executive Director of Human Resources. If you'll reflect that in the minutes, Brenda, to take off TLE, Delana is in charge of TLE. So,
So the only thing this is doing is changing names. We're not
Correct.
changing policies.
no policy change, just
Okay.
we're making sure that the names are accurate.
I move to vote.
I just thought maybe Jennifer needed more things to do or something.
Oh, maybe.
Well, Curtis was still listed in our policy, and so we thought we'd better
Oh,
clarify
that's
that.
TLE.
Oh, yeah, no, that's Delana. You're not taking that, are you?
I make a motion to vote.
Okay.
We need
Is there a second?
No, I will second.
Okay. Nancy seconded, Anna made the motion. So call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Okay. Number 8, and we have several on here to vote on. A, consideration take action on the millwork bid package from Rick Scott Construction on the Liberty Elementary renovation project.
I'll let Adam answer questions on that.
The
We
original
discussed it.
GMP was what?
1.487. This was,
Well, that's the current one. What was the
that is
original?
the current one. What was Jamie Wells created cabinets, and it was lower than the estimated amount for what we had for millwork. What happened with his bid, and I just need to clarify this because we'll revisit this GMP next month, is he bid also doing art room millwork, which was not included in the scope of the project. I did some miscommunication between Rick Scott and him. So he is already working on a price reduction of this amount. We already know the amount, but we'll have to accept this bid, and then next month we'll revise the GMP with a new.
Okay, but what was the original GMP?
I mean, the
186 less.
1 point, hold on, I can pull it up. All right, on Liberty, $1,487,071.63.
It's the current one.
That's the current.
Yeah, so that's going to be the GMP. This is the original GMP then. So next month it'll be even less. I think it's going to be about 35,000 more.
So the 186 is going to be about 150?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll visit that next month.
So,
But this gets him on the hook.
but does the 186, that's in the 1487, correct?
Yes, correct.
So we're approving more than we're going to pay?
Yeah, we have to accept his bid because he was the lowest bid on this project, and then we will ask for.
we're doing a change order, basically.
Why wouldn't we just reject the 186, and then next time he comes in with...
Because then it opens up that we'd have to rebid the whole package,
Yeah.
and outside bidders can compete on that.
Yeah, you have to do it. We did this last
We ran
last
into
year or
that
sometime.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to accept his, and until, that's where it comes in having relationships with your CMs and.
Because he doesn't have to really lower his price.
He does, because we're.
Well, if he wants the business, he does.
No,
But by law, he doesn't.
Yeah, because we could reject it, you're right, we could reject it, but he's working with us, and he's going to reduce that scope, and we know an estimate already of what that scope reduction will look like.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, B is on agreement with Burgess Company for operable partitions for the Anderson. Pardon me? For the Anderson
Oh, okay.
STEM
I'm sorry.
renovation project.
Okay.
And this, we had $250,000 in our estimate for operable wall partitions in the Anderson. Burgess Company was 105, 377. What will happen is we'll continue to track that money in allowance. Obviously, we're not gonna have to touch it unless, something happens weird with the operable doors or something that they get in and find a design flaw, but we're confident that's the price. But that money will roll into contingency. That we can either use.
You're talking the difference of the 200 to the 105?
Correct.
Again, so we're into the same thing as we were on A?
Yeah, so your GMP does not change, it remains unchanged, because we had estimated operable wall partitions originally when we presented this to the board at 250 or 200, I can't remember, it was 250, I think. So we will continue keeping that money in there in that project, and if we don't utilize it, it'll stay in contingency and it'll come back to the school board at the end of the project.
Well, in theory, you should be setting tight on about $245,000 and not let them use it for something else.
Correct. In theory.
In theory.
In theory,
Well,
inflationary
but-
costs
Unless
and
you
all the
want-
other.
But otherwise, we're gonna separate these and vote no for them if you don't do it that way. Just because we're giving them an extra $200,000+ doesn't mean that they have an extra $200,000 to spend somewhere else.
That's correct, the
Yeah,
project
that's right.
remains unchanged.
Right.
We're not adding.
I mean,
to the project.
This having to stick with the original GNP can hurt us if they don't trust us or we don't trust them 100%.
Correct.
To what they're
Every project
doing.
we've done so far in this bond cycle and ESSER CARES project, we have received money back.
But in theory, it should be 200,000+ in contingency they give, or 140 back.
Yeah, and I can show you where we're at with the contingency on Anderson in our
Okay.
next committee meeting.
Okay. We're ready to go on to C?
Yep.
Okay, this is the softball improvements recommendation report commentary. Who's going to talk on it?
Adam?
So this is the softball GMP that was presented in 794. The district is rejecting alternate one, which was a deduct alternate. So we were looking at ways if we needed to save money. That was alternate number one was the work for the home locker room. It was a recommendation of the property committee.
Dugout?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I said locker.
Yeah, okay. I was like, okay, wait, all right, we got it.
So actually, by rejecting this alternate, we're choosing to do the work at the locker room, or I did it again, of the dugout there. This would bring new bleachers, the concession stand, the press box, the awning, rework the bathrooms at the existing bathroom area and creating a family bathroom and more capacity in those, and then getting rid of the concession stand in the existing building and having the new concession stand built under the press box in the stadium there at West.
Is the 58,000 for the home dugouts or the visitors? I thought it was
Home
the
dugout.
visitors.
Home dugout.
We're not
No,
doing
we didn't have
anything.
any visitor dugout yet at the time. I was tasked to get additional information on what that would be, so we would have to do a price request for our CMs. If this board approves this UMP, that would be price request number one, that the architect would initiate and ask the CMs to work with the identified subs of this project, what the additional cost of expanding the visitor dugout would be. Good grief. I really want to rip on the locker rooms there. We're not working on the locker rooms at softball. Mark that down, Kelly.
I mean, we can talk about it.
We're going to
We're
make
doing
them
foundation.
cosmetic.
That was separate. That was separate from this project. Foundation work is scheduled for the locker rooms and painting.
Judy, I'd like a separate vote on item C.
Okay. Come on. Okay, then are we through talking about C for right now? Okay, D. And this is for the Hal restroom renovation project. I hope this is for the second floor bathrooms.
Yeah, so this
Correct.
is the second phase of the summer work at the high school. This GMP is 862. Now, what you will be approving are the bid packages we've received. The estimated GMP is at 862 because we did not get a few bids. The biggest one was flooring for those restrooms. That will be a sizable bid to do the flooring in those 8 restrooms that we're doing this summer at the high school.
And those are gonna, where are those gonna be, that you're gonna be redoing? What floors?
We're redoing all the bathrooms on the east side, or the west side of the high school. We did everything on the east side this past summer, now we're going to do everything on the west side.
Is that second and third floor
First,
bathrooms?
second, and third floor.
In the Hal.
Because I was in the second floor and I thought, this is just exactly like it was in 65, I think.
Did you go on the east side?
No,
Oh, they look
I
really
went on the
nice.
west side. But I just thought, oh my goodness.
Those will get
Okay.
changed. I mean,
Good.
we came in right under the wire and getting the ones done this summer, so.
Oh, good.
Adam, talk a minute about it, an estimated construction GMP, because I've got questions about why we'd want to approve an estimated GMP.
So all you're approving is the bid packages so far for, the estimated GMP is really just for your information. That is not an approval of a GMP. You are approving the bid packages received thus
The
far.
the 426.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we're trying to say is we feel like we're still comfortable on beating this estimate of 862. You are not approving a full GMP. That
Okay.
is what Rick Scott Construction and Stephanie Austin have estimated for this total project. And it'll be close. I mean, we compared the project to last summer. We're up higher on a few things, 12 months and inflationary costs. So I don't know if that's the deal, but the flooring was the one that we're really worried about looking at the future. Yeah, no, that's a good question, Roman. That's just, you're approving bid packages totally for 26, 127. This will get those contractors on the hook and committed to doing work this summer at the high school.
Okay. Okay, any more questions on D? Okay. E, this is with Total Com Incorporated to install new radios and antennas in new buses.
Questions there? This is provide equipment and labor to install 9 radios and antennas in 9 of our new buses. And when are the first ones scheduled to come, Adam?
have
We
two
should,
that are,
yeah.
in production right now, so they've left the warehouse, they're in El Reno, getting stickers put on with boxing signage. It should be here in a few weeks.
Just short of $11,000.
Two of the 9, we got 7 more to come.
Okay.
No promises. We've been waiting a year and a half for these two?
The second month I was here.
Okay, any questions on E?
No.
Okay, F, a village travel for the orchestra, chorale, and band students to travel to a concert venue.
Okay, this is for the big orchestra, band, and chorale trip, and Village Travel will provide 3 deluxe motor coaches for our students to travel to Pohai to Branson. They're going to be performing at different concert venues. Our orchestra will be playing with the Texas Tenors. Our chorale will do the pre-show for the Texas Tenors, and then our band will do the pre-show for the Haygood family in Branson.
Jennifer, you want to make a last pitch sale on this one?
Jennifer's going as a supervisor
Yeah, I know it. Last chance.
with her daughter.
Last chance.
Okay,
Do you want a separate vote on that one too?
No, I should, but I won't.
okay, G, consider an agreement with Explorica Travel for a trip to Japan for July 2024 and a trip to Germany, France, and Spain for July 2025.
I'll take
And
a CPA.
Paige Marsh, do you want to talk about this, Paige?
I'd love to hear about
We
it.
don't have to put you on the spot, but she and Molly
have to.
Carter actually presented to
Yes,
the curriculum committee, and I think it was just Mrs. Troop there.
was.
And the Explorica trip to Japan is in July of 2024, and then Germany, France, and Spain is July 2025. So if the board approves this tonight, it will allow our sponsors to begin fundraising.
I do have a question. You talk about the funds that are going from an activity or whatever, but you said with the possible exception of substitute pay for teacher sponsors, but
These
in
are
the
in the
summertime,
summer.
we won't have any, will we?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Both trips are scheduled for summer.
Yeah, so
So
no, there
unless they're
won't be any
teaching elementary,
substitute
which they
pay.
wouldn't be teaching elementary summer school.
Right.
Yeah, only if they're teaching summer
Summer
school.
school, right.
That'd be the only way.
Now, and we discussed this in curriculum. At one point, we had an Explorica trip that was in January, and it did
Right.
require subs, so.
I was just wondering if this was just some old language.
That's it, if they're teaching
Covered
summer
that.
school.
I mean,
Yeah,
They know that was-
I
Because
think it's good to keep it in there.
yeah, we left it in there for summer
Yeah,
school.
People,
this is just.
Do you have an
and-
anticipated, or how many
Like you.
students?
Well, she won't know until she puts it out there, probably.
Right. Molly and I currently have a trip to Peru scheduled for July, and we have 7, including teachers, myself and Molly, and Mr. Lansdowne Peoples is also going, Rachel Hike, who is a teacher at Shiloh, and then we have some parents who are also attending.
You going, Judy?
And this is Peru.
No,
She's going to Japan.
because we're going to Paris and, I'm too old. I need a little
You've been
time
with
to
them
rest
before.
up.
You've been with them before,
I
haven't you?
have, and it's a wonderful group to travel with. It's very safe. And, you know, I'm thinking about maybe, I don't know, if I like Paris and Spain, I might do Germany, Paris and Spain again.
Maybe
But-
you ought to move over there.
Oh, maybe so. Are you wanting to get rid of me?
Oh,
Okay. Are there
Thank
any
you.
other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Marsh.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh.
I make a motion we approve A through G without C.
Okay,
Second that.
okay. So we're taking C out there. Okay. So we're
Riley's request.
A through,
G,
where the motion is for A through G.
with the exception of
With-
C.
With the exception of C. And do I have a second?
Yes, I
Oh,
second.
Anna. Okay, call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye. Then I'll make a motion to approve C.
Do I have a second for C?
I'll second C.
Okay.
I'll second to take a vote.
Okay.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Nay.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye. Okay.
Would you like to tell us, Robin, why you don't want to vote, or do you want to
Yes.
just keep that?
I'll keep it to myself.
Okay, all right. All right. Number 9, consideration and take action for the following change orders. A, consider change order on the Lincoln Elementary renovation project. Looks like this is in the,
Judy, A, B, and C are
All together,
if you approve
change
A, B,
orders.
and C, you get money back. If you reject it, they'll keep the money.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. That's pretty
You
easy.
can read each one, but I would recommend
thank you.
approval.
Okay.
It's about $27,000.
Yeah, well, you don't want me to read the projects then? One of them's for the Commons, I had said Lincoln, one of them's for the Commons remodel project, and the other one is change order for the Howell restroom renovation project at the high school.
Make a motion to vote on A through C on number 9.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Robin seconded it. Okay. Are there any other questions on any of these?
No.
Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, motion and vote to convene an executive session for the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel on the detailed personnel report, to discuss the employment of executive directors and directors, to discuss the employment of a superintendent, to discuss negotiations, and to discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney concerning pending claims and litigation. Do I have a motion for executive session?
Yes, you do, here.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Robin? Give it to you.
Either way.
Okay, call for the vote.
Yes.
Mr. Newsom? Silverdale. Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye,
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye.
we're in executive session. Okay, we're going to return to open session. Recital by board president, the minutes of the executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. Number 13, consideration and take action on recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel. Do I have a motion for that?
Yes.
And I'll second it.
I make a motion, we begin the superintendent contract negotiations with Adam leaving.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Is that where we should do that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, that was my bad. Yeah, no, okay.
Call roll.
Okay. Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland? Aye. Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. I just think you need to read it louder. I didn't hear it the first time.
She's got it.
I'm totally kidding.
I don't have it anymore.
Okay, new business. Do we have any new business?
No new business.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Let's get out of here.
Second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're adjourned.
Aye.
We're adjourned.